When it comes to a full healing protocol, a lot of practitioners are quick to ask you to get pages and pages of blood work before they even have a conversation with you about your lifestyle. So today's guests, Josh and Jeannie, and I are going to sit down and really talk about this and how this can be a really big missing component and how they've shifted in the last 20 years that they've been working with people, the way that they talk with clients, the way that they gather information, and that actually changes how they structure plans, and why labs aren't always the be all end all and shouldn't necessarily be the first stop when you're looking to make health improvements and changes. I think you're really going to enjoy today's episode. Now, if you enjoy Josh and Jeannie, I'm going to make sure to put all of their information down in the show notes. They are very quantum and circadian informed. So if you're looking for a practitioner to work with this year to improve your health, I highly recommend them and their work. I think they are fantastic. And I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation. Thank you so much for watching. A lot of people are quick to talk about the benefits of sunlight, but what gets often missed in the conversation is the benefit of darkness and the importance of protecting yourself from blue and green light after sunset. That is why I choose Viva Rays as my go-to source for protecting my circadian rhythms. You can use the code YOGI to save 15% off at Viva Rays. Now, you may have seen some of these studies popping up. I call them fear mongering about blue blockers not being effective. And that is a partial truth, because when you use blue blockers that are clear or that have not been tested with a spectrometer to actually block what they say they do, they will not protect your circadian rhythms. And they are not catching those key wavelengths that you need to be blocking in order for your body to be able to repair, for you to make melatonin, which is a master antioxidant. And artificial light at night has been in the scientific literature extensively linked to a host of hormonal cancers, obesity, diabetes, and all sorts of metabolic issues. That, again, is why I choose Viva Rays as my go-to source for protecting my circadian rhythms to allow my body to get adequate darkness at night. You can use the code YOGI to save 15% over at Viva Rays, and you can actually trust that they block the frequencies of light that they say they do. Thanks to Viva Rays for sponsoring today's podcast. If you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you know I'm a huge fan of red light therapy for improving skin health, mitochondrial health, and just boosting your overall energy. I often get asked if the red light therapy face masks are worth it. And to be honest with you, I am really, really choosy when it comes to red light therapy face masks because of two issues. Number one, a lot of the masks actually have really high non-native EMF, which can actually denate any benefits that you're giving your mitochondria. And you really don't want a lot of non-native EMF so close to your head. Number two, a lot of the masks don't really use the therapeutic wavelengths that are shown to improve skin health, boost collagen, and have a therapeutic benefit on skin. So that's why I really like the Bond Charge mask. I've tested it with my meter. It is very low EMF, very safe for the face. And they use the targeted wavelengths that have been shown to improve skin, to boost collagen, and to just help you get that overall glow that you are looking for with a red light therapy mask. Check out the Bond Charge red light therapy mask. You can use my code Sarah Kleiner, all one word, to save. There's a link down in the show notes. It's very easy to use, easy to clean, and it actually works and it's safe. Hope you enjoy. Hello, welcome back to the podcast. Today I have Josh and Jeannie here, who I've actually been following online for quite a while now, and I'm excited to chat with them about what they do, how they support people, because I think they have a different way of looking at physiology and just how people respond to their environment in general. So welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, we're excited to be here. We have been following you and really love the work that you and everyone in the quantum world are doing. I think it's been a huge benefit it's been a missing piece of the conversation for a long time. Yeah.
I love that. And I was so excited when I saw your content starting to shift a little bit in that direction. I was like, yes, that's so cool. And
well, it's funny because, you know, we've been on YouTube for a long time and Facebook. And I mean, we've been doing this work for 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because when we look back at a lot of the things we do, we've always been saying these things. It's just how we've been able to fine tune our message and evolve the message, right? And we find these little pieces because we don't follow like anyone's methodology, right? We kind of take a piece, like for instance, back in the day, oh, Paul Chek, and we like fine tune a piece to our methodology, or Ray Peat, or like even the quantum world. There's like a lot of the things they talk about, like red light. I can go back from like a YouTube from 2009 I did on red light, you know, and it's all that stuff. And it's the reason I love it is because it anchors, it really brought us back to home base. I feel like our journey and our work has been, it's been like a huge evolution, and the quantum world has taken us back to home base, because really what we've been about is, okay, you have SIBO, or you have histamine issues, or you have adrenal issues, or thyroid, or gut, whatever it is, it doesn't matter, right? You are this person with a story in an environment, right? And habits and behaviors that have created it. And the quantum world really helped us put together over time, like it's getting back to the basics of life and living in a way that allows your body to create health. Like in the quantum world, it's like live in a way to support your circadian biology. Like don't work out in the morning and night, and don't do these and do these things because you want to match your biology. We're just teaching people to do that, and we use different like verbiage so it's like simple, so they can create a life they want that matches how their body, like how their body should work, and it's going to create health. Health will follow. So I think that piece was for us has been a missing piece. And for me, what really, well, I look back when I found like, let's say the quantum stuff, and there was all these like hints and like breadcrumbs along the way of different books. Because I remember I was talking to this guy, Georgie. Do you know Georgie? I don't know his last name.
Oh yeah, I know Georgie. Yeah,
Yeah.
like Georgie's Gardens.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
It was probably 2 years ago or 3 years ago. I don't even know, maybe even 4, and that's what kind of like propelled me a little bit into this, because I'm like, I feel like we're doing the same thing. We just talk about it differently, but I want to go deeper. And he's like, well, check out these books. I'm like, I have these books. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's just been this evolution of learning how to fine tune our message to get people back to living in a way that allows their body to create health, you know, and finding you and Carrie. And it's just been great to, you know, see everyone teach people this, because I think people have lost their way big time. Big time.
Yeah. And I don't know, I would love to hear you talk about this, because I've seen some of your posts and I'm like, oh, I love this, of how you're really putting this message across simply for people. But I know that you guys do a lot of work with people, talking to people constantly, and with your group programs. And I know people come to you with this laundry list of, like you said, SIBO and H. pylori and histamine intolerance. And I'd love to hear how your view of that and the way that you support someone in that has shifted and changed over the last few years. And yeah, because we get that a lot in the holistic world, and people are just, I think they're just really confused and overwhelmed by all these different labels.
Well, I think before we can do anything, we have to have the energy to do it, right? So we got into mitochondria health when, I don't know, early,
like 17 years ago.
Realizing that at the core, if we're really looking at the root cause of things, there's an energy leakage, right? There's something happening in that system. So how do we begin to work with restoring what's happening there? And that energy leakage happens over time through chronic stress, right? We become deficient in minerals, the things that we need to be able to optimize all those internal functions. We become deficient, well, essentially there, and that's where it begins. And then we have that neurological communication through that hypothalamic pituitary adrenal thyroid gut gonad axis, right? Which becomes highly dysfunctional. So now not only are we highly deficient, but now we're layering the stresses, right? And the stresses for us, what we saw for so many years, and we watched over and over and over, it wasn't a nutrition issue, right? It was a developmental belief systems, right? Habits and behaviors that have formed over life and certain experiences through life. That became a reoccurring thing for us in our practice, and seeing that over and over. So as we began to work with the energy systems and we began to create regulation and we began to create safety, right? We began to rebuild this energy and restore resilience in the system. We saw those dysfunctions or conditions begin to correct themselves.
Right.
And that's essentially how we just saw it over and over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've been doing it this way all along, right? Because people come to us and say, well, how are you different? I do these things.
Yeah.
And it's how we go about them. It's how we personalize them, because we get it. People are tired, they're sick, they're scared. They want to be able to play with their kids. So they'll do anything to get better. But there's a big problem there, because something we teach is awareness precedes change. If you don't have awareness, right? And you think about our society, it's do more, take more, eliminate more, suck it up, buck it up, do. You know, we're more disconnected than ever between all of that, the emotional, how we're brought up, social media. You know, we need devices to tell us how we sleep and so forth. We're not saying these things don't serve a small purpose, but the problem is
we're too reliant.
Right, we rely on it like crutch. And if you study the work of Gabor Mate, who's influenced a lot of our work, you know, he talks about any stress or trauma, whatever you want to talk about, there's always a disconnect, right? When we talk about these energy leaks, we talk about it from the standpoint of like a body bank account, right? And there's kind of 5 levels of pain. That first level is like pain. We start to create debt. And this, I'm sorry, the first level is pressure, and then pain, and then ticklish, and then itching, tingling, and numbness. Right? That's the evolution of creating debt. And we get to this point where like, I will do anything, but I don't even know what I need. It's like having a child and not even knowing what they need. That would be a really weird space, because we're so connected to our children. We know exactly what they need, when they need it, and sometimes before they need it. So we're like, oh, this Instagram account, this supplement, oh, this program, oh, this, that. And we're buying and doing everything. The problem is we're in debt. We don't have the capacity to handle this. So the journey to become healthy now becomes really unhealthy. And we're like, I'm doing all these things, it's not working. So our goal is to help people move from Mr. and Mrs. Mechanic back to the observer, decompensate through this level of pain, reconnect with their body, and have this awareness. So they know they can connect with what they need. They connect with what they feel within their environment to meet their needs. And this is the most powerful thing. Why? Because you move from SIBO or whatever back to I'm in control. And I understand that my habits and behaviors, my experiences literally dictate my biology, right? And this is like Gabor says, you know, Buddha says the mind creates the world. He says the world creates the mind. And that's so true, because if we begin to change our experiences, we begin to reshape our biology, and we get the result we want without focusing on SIBO, etc. So we've always gone about it that way. And I think it's empowering for people. It's not easy, right? It's taking responsibility. It takes time, but we move away from needing something outside of ourselves to heal us, to back inside to say, I have everything I need right here in my body. This is a fine-tuned machine. I just need to step up and be the conductor and change my habits and behaviors to be that conductor, to fine-tune the symphony inside of me, right? Because that's the report card for the external world.
Yeah, what I love so much about it is it's not just to fix that issue. It's like, this is who I am. This is what I need. And I think adaptation is something that gets left out in a lot of conversations, is how do I adapt to the season of life that I'm in, right?
Right.
And nobody knows how to do that. It's like, oh, this works, so let's do this. But there's also many different phases of healing. When people come to us, they're in a very different space than where they are when they leave us. Right? So they get to experience what that shift looks like as they move through that. And how do I move with that? Even from a day-to-day perspective, right? How do I shift what's happening for me or what I need daily based on what's happening in my day and for me, right? It's huge.
Yeah, that is huge. And I think people are so, like I said, they're used to having a label, a diagnosis. And I think that further disconnects them from
100%.
Looking at the environment and looking at the label is just like a manifestation of the environment of the person. And if you just, I don't know, if you just hyper focus on fixing this label to try to get rid of it, but you don't look at what caused this, what brought this about in the whole person, it's just going to come back again. I think I saw that under one of your posts about H. pylori, or like, we used to treat this and try to wipe it out, and then it just comes back, right?
Well, yeah, this was
an interesting
like
thing.
2002 to 2005, and we were doing the labs because they were just new and anyone could do them.
Mm-hmm.
But people would do the protocol and they'd be like, I feel so much better. And we retest always, and they still have H. pylori, right? Or they go, oh my God, I still feel horrible. This is ridiculous. And we retest and they wouldn't have H. pylori. We stopped that methodology because, once again, I mean, it's no different than allopathic medicine. And I think the biggest protocol that's being missed is the person, their story, and the conditions. That's what creates our biology. And it's just so powerful. But I think all these labels, they don't explain anything. The diagnosis doesn't explain anything, right? And I think that's what's missing. But it also lets people anchor into, and I say this with love and compassion, like just that victim mentality. And I get it. I've been sick before, you're there. Like, I felt when I was sick, like I felt like I was dying, and you're like, you want to deviate and do anything possible, and have this label and say, well, for me, I have this label, I need to do this, but we don't. There's nothing within this health industry, whether we're talking SIBO or gut, histamine, hormone, that requires any of these supplements that people are pushing, and people say it can't be done. We haven't used supplements with people in 25 years, and we've helped people with thyroid issues and so forth. So I just think, like Jeannie said, it goes beyond just fixing the thyroid by creating a better environment. It's like we've shared this recently. We want to stop using the word healing, because I think it's being associated with labs and supplements and modalities and devices now. And it really means I need to find someone to help fix me. I need to look outside myself because there's something wrong with me. But there's nothing wrong with you. I guarantee there's more things right with you than what's wrong with you. You know what I mean? But when we start learning how to live and then create an environment that allows us to create efficiency and create balance and have fun and happiness, then health follows, right? And that's the most important thing. It's not just fix your thyroid. Right. It's everything that comes with it, and that's, I think it's powerful.
So right here, right now, we're shifting this whole idea of healing to living.
I love it. I love that. Right. It's like everyone is just like, I'm on a healing journey. I'm like,
when's it end?
Right.
And when do you begin living again?
Precisely. Like, let's make it a living journey instead of having to be in this perpetual. I love that. I just love that.
But I think because we are so consumed or surrounded by external stresses, right? And I think that, again, our culture has a misconception around what stress is, right? We think it's finances or relationship or whatnot, but we don't acknowledge that as internal stresses, or again, the state of our system and our relationship with the world around us, right? That is just overlooked far too much. And I think that we have to, in that, there is a need for rhythm. There's a need for structure. There's a need for regulation. There's a need for safety, right? But there's none of that most people are experiencing daily. And how do we begin to create that in our world? So that we talk a lot about creating the environment that is 100% in our control and our power, right?
Yeah.
But that's a huge piece of what's, again, needing to happen in order for us to get past this idea of healing and back into living, is living in a way that meets us where we are and serves us both physically and emotionally, right? Because we focus so much on the physical when it comes to healing, and we override.
I want to add to this, unless you have a question, but it's like, even thinking about, like, in the quantum world, people talk about leptin resistance, right? Which, if we look at it from this place of, like, the surface, we know what leptin is, we know what leptin does, we know how we get there. That's great. But what is that state? What does that mean? Right? It means scarcity. It means the body is not safe. So sure, we tell our clients, yes, you can ground. Yes, you can get out in sunlight. Yes, you can wear blue blockers and do all these things. They do help the body and the state. But if you're still living in the same environment that got you sick, if you're still moving a million miles an hour and you're not creating new habits on top of that, we can't move from that place.
Right.
Right. We have to create a safety in the body. It's like, I remember listening to Deb Dana and nervous system work many years ago, because you listen to Stephen Porges and you're like, oh my God, like, where do I start? This is like insane. And she's like, I'll simplify it. Cues of safety. You have to start there. Like, you have to, maybe for you, that's going for a walk after breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like, it's just pausing and stopping and interrupting that stress and creating new habits to allow the body to feel safe again. So it's not just about regulating leptin. It's about creating a different environment, right? And because that external environment, again, it influences that internal environment. And if we can kind of marry these things together and move away from it's all I got to do is this, like someone messaged me. So if you have a leptin resistant, you just don't eat carbs, right? And you're good, right?
Incorrect. That could actually make it worse for some people, believe it or not.
So people think it's just about food or it's just about light or it's we have to start learning that
it's everything.
We are in charge and we have a choice every single day. And it's not easy. We have kids, we work, but guess what? If you step up to the plate and think about the easiest thing you can start with and you start making small changes over time, this allows your body to feel safe. This allows you to build resiliency and be able to adapt to your lifestyle. It's not about living in a bubble. It's about building resiliency so the demands being placed on you don't exceed what's in your energy bank account, and you don't have debt, and you have $1 million in your energy bank account. You have that resiliency to kind of fluctuate. You don't really even feel it.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at the literature on leptin resistance and the nervous system. There is tons of information to show that there's nervous system dysregulation and leptin resistance, and that there's sympathetic dominance and
100%.
leptin resistance. There's people always want the PubMed, they want the papers, even though, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I think a lot of I'm just like, why do you need a double-blind placebo in vivo, whatever study to prove to you what biology has shown you since the beginning of time? It's clear as day. You don't need a paper to prove, but okay, here it is. It's the nervous system is heavily involved.
It's resistance, in my opinion. It's resistance
to do something. It's a defense mechanism.
Correct.
It really is. But the reason there's a connection there is because, and Gabor talks about a lot. It's called psychoneuroimmunology. So the emotional, and this is why he believes like here and now, what you're struggling with is literally your story. It started in childhood because of how you were parented or you weren't parented or your environment and so forth. So that cycle of mental emotional state influences your hormones, and you can put anything, right? Your neurology, which influences the immune system. And that's why there's a huge connection between hormone issues, immune system issues, and so forth. So when you see people with, let's say, a gut issue or an autoimmune issue, which, we used to work with people in their 40s and 50s with autoimmune issues. Now we're working with like 21-year-olds.
20s, yeah.
Right. Yeah. And people think it's just a diet fix, but they don't realize that that's like literally 10% of the equation. This is when we have to start creating a better environment. And that's why there's a huge connection. So yeah, you can focus on cold therapy and food and blue aquas and light, but if this other piece isn't there, you're only going to get so far.
Yeah, that's so hard for people to grasp because they want like a 10-step protocol.
Yeah.
They want a list, they want to check off the boxes, and they're very in the kind of masculine and the doing about it. And there's this whole other aspect of understanding the somatic side of the body. And if you ignore that, you could get everything right and still have dysfunction because the body still believes it's in danger because you've just taken the energy and just put it all into your list. It's when it comes to health, I don't think that you should be taking handfuls of supplements a day, but there are a few things that I think can be really helpful, especially in our modern world where we tend to live in a bit of a toxic environment. That's why I'm a huge fan of Black Lotus Shilajit. Now, they're a family-owned business that's been in the health and wellness space for 20 years, and their Shilajit is actually way more reasonably priced than what I have seen out there on the market. They have excellent sourcing, and they do third-party testing for mold and other harmful heavy metal and contaminants that other products don't necessarily do. So if you're looking for a good Shilajit, if you've heard about some of the amazing benefits of remineralization and helping to gently detox the body from heavy metals, I really highly recommend Black Lotus Shilajit. You can use code Sarah K to save 15% site-wide. I'm a huge fan of the tablets, but they also have it in these really, really nice glass bottles, in capsules, and all other kinds of ways. You can get it as a resin if you prefer it that way. But it's a really great product. I highly recommend it. And again, you can use code Sarah K to save site-wide. Yeah.
Can actually make you feel worse sometimes.
Agree.
Right? Because there's so much neurostimulation that you don't need. You know, people think more is better. It's actually now less is more. You know, we've had so many people come into our work, whether it's one-on-one or our program, laundry list of issues, work with tons and tons of practitioners. And when we move them away slowly from what they were doing, which was allowing them to survive, back into just creating a lifestyle, it's amazing how fast they start seeing results, right? And that's where the magic happens. And it's hard because we have to learn how to feel again, you know, and ask ourselves what we need.
But it's also knowing that as we move into this piece, because I think there is a lot more conversation going on around nervous system and it being at the core of what's happening. That as we build resilience, and we don't have to go chase it, right? Those things will naturally come up to the surface and are ready to be looked at. But I also think it's a responsibility in acknowledging, you know, there's being seen, heard, held, acknowledged, and responded to appropriately. Right. We all need to be doing that in our own healing process. It's like, oh, I see this. I acknowledge you. But if I'm in the middle of a war right now and my kid's sick and my work is overloaded and I'm not feeling 100% and I try to meet this piece right here, right now, we're in big trouble, right? So we acknowledge and it's like, okay, well, I see you, but I'm not ready for you right now, right? And I think that that's something that's really important for people to understand as they're moving through all the nervous system work, all the breath work, all the somatic work, right? Is that you need to go slow because you don't have the capacity for it.
Yes.
And it can re-trigger and re-traumatize the system over and over again. But as we look at what feels good and what feels right and the things that we need, and we nourish those parts and pieces of ourselves, then those things naturally arise and we can meet them as they come, right? In a much more effective manner. Where again, we're not seeing that. We're seeing people just, if I can get to that piece, I'm going to be better. No, it doesn't work that way, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think Irene Lyon, she's a good friend of mine. She calls it titrating or titration.
Yeah, I love her work.
Yeah, you have to go slowly with people because, and not look at it as a race and not look at it as like a goal to achieve certain amount of things with the nervous system. It's like you have to build the capacity. And be patient. It's, you know, you took you how many years to get into the situation that you're in.
Yeah.
It's not going to resolve in 8 weeks, you know.
When I was studying craniosacral work, before I did biodynamic, I was studying Upledger and I did a somatic course in Upledger and it scared the living shit out of me. Like there were people screaming and like falling off tables and it was so, I'm like, I don't ever want to go back and do that again. That was terrifying, you know. But
is that where they have like the big emotional release? Like they're trying. I think an old craniosacral therapist that I used to see, he told me how dangerous that he thought that work was, and it was just triggering people and sending them kind of into like psychotic episodes. And
it can absolutely, if not done.
We have to go slow. And this is like one of the foundational pieces of our work, right? Because we don't have the capacity, we don't have the time, we don't know how to like mix it into our already chaotic world. So we have to learn how to create just more coherence, and that takes time. You know, when we work with clients, if a client says to me at the first session, that's all you want me to do, I know it's exactly where it was the perfect recommendation. Because when you give something, you know, someone something to do, they should be able to create consistency with it. not perfection. They should be able to be compliant with it over time, and that creates health. So we give little things, one little thing to do, and then you can layer on top of that over time. So when people think of health, if you're listening, it's like, think of that think of the things maybe you need to change, or you want to change, or you're tuning into that, you're like, I don't like this, or whatever it may be. Find the simplest, most easiest thing, and that's where you start. Right? It might not even be sunlight, right? It might not even be getting outside. It could be something completely different, but that's where you start, because that's going to help you build momentum. It's going to help you build empowerment.
Yes.
And when you go slow, you're doing exactly opposite of what you're doing, right? And that's key.
Yeah, I love that. And I think people think that they have to be perfect in order to see change. And I had this conversation this morning in one of my groups where they were like, well, I saw on Huberman that on a cloudy day, you need to be out twice as long. And I'm like, well, do you want to go out in the cloudy rain in the cold and spend 30 minutes instead of 15? Or, you know, do you want to do that? Or like, absolutely not. It's freezing. It's miserable. I'm like, then do what you can. I'd rather you go outside for 2 minutes than 0. Like,
exactly.
Keep it in your daily routine. Have it as the thing. Check it off your list that you did it. It's a win, a success for the day. Your body's not stupid. You know, you continue to reinforce that signal on a daily basis. It's going to add up. You don't have to have like the perfect like window of time. And yeah, it's.
But unfortunately, this is what's on the podcast. This is what's on social media. And people don't realize that these are just conversations, right? As they say, they're not consultations, but everyone looks at them like consultations. I need to do this. But what people don't realize, if we just do these little things over time, like you said, it's like saving money. It adds up. And before we know it, we feel it, and we have that $1 million in our energy bank account, you know, and there's no reason to do that if what you're doing is working and you're building consistency with it and it fits your lifestyle. And that's the most important piece. It's understanding you and your story in your environment and your lifestyle, and saying, what can I do that allows me to have fun with it, and not like I have to be outside for 30 minutes when it's raining, you know?
Right. Because it really, like, do you want to do that? Because I don't know anyone who does. I don't know if it's even good for you to do that. So no, don't. Yeah, I love that. And what would you say the most common issues of people that are coming to you right now are having, and how do you support them individually? Do you have a basic protocol, or is it like, I need to talk to each individual person and kind of meet them where they are?
I think that we work with everyone, right? Whether it's SIBO, histamine, nervous system, fatigue, insomnia, thyroid, adrenal, right? We don't have this like niche. We do in a sense, like the nervous system, but we look at it more from the standpoint of helping people personalize their journey. And when we talk to them and look at where they need to start, you know, what's that one thing that they can do? But we talk to them. We don't say, okay, what I want you to do is start waking up and going outside. Well, I have a 1-year-old, and I just, with the morning, and my husband's a firefighter, and there's no way. So that's why we don't have the protocol. We really help people personalize it. And we talk to them and ask them what they need. And we look at the easiest thing they can change, whether it's focusing on lunch, or just stepping outside at sunset, or taking a walk, or when you wake up in the morning, before your kids wake up, what's one thing that you feel you could do for 5 minutes that just feels good in your soul and makes you smile? Like a client said to me the other day, she's like, I wake up, I'm so anxious. I go out and feed the cows, and I come back in, I'm anxious. I'm like, what would it feel like to wake up and do something that anchored you? Like, what would that be? She's like, I used to stretch and I don't anymore, and it just feels good. And I would love to do it, like just with candles in the morning. I'm like, then do it. Because that's going to create, that's cues of safety. That's reorientation. That's creating more coherence. That's interrupting the stress cycle. That's creating a shift, which is going to create an internal shift, right? So we're taking small steps, and that's where we started, right? That's all you want me to do? Yeah, let's do it then. Let's see how you can create consistency with it. And we can come up with other things that feel good to you that you can utilize. And that's where how we really personalize with people. It's not, we don't treat the SIBO, right? We do take in consideration, oh, you do have a gut issue, but we don't chase it, right? Because we understand how, right? Because gut issues, digestion begins in a parasympathetic state from that cephalic phase. So it's like that cephalic phase is not just bitters, it's not just sitting down to eat, it's everything from the second you wake up to the second you go to bed, right? So how do we support that? And in the morning, if you're waking up anxious and then you go feed the cows, which is great, and you come in and eat, we're going through the day in that same state. So we're just chasing it all day. And we start the next day in the same exact place or even in debt. We have to start interrupting that, right?
So it's really in building that rhythm and structure through their day, starting with when they wake up in the morning and how they move through that. And it's through our five foundational principles of environment, light, movement, breath, and then essentially energy production, right? So we're looking at all those aspects, but we do have our clients tracking. So we're looking at patterns of regulation and dysregulation so that they can begin to see it and feel it. So throughout that, we're asking them to stop in their day and reorient. How am I doing right now? What am I noticing? The pausing and coming out of that place of go, 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 and dropping into their bodies and saying, where am I right now in this space, in this world right now, right here, right now, right? And what do I need for myself? And that's really, really helpful in them being able to see it versus somebody just saying, hey, this is what I think you need, right? This is what I think is happening for you, but no, this is what you're showing us. Can you see it? And oftentimes having them do, 2 to 3 days, because what we're typically feeling in this moment has absolutely nothing to do with what we've just done. And it's been everything prior and sometimes 24 hours prior, right? So we get to see that and that influence from day to day.
But even the language, like a lot of people are just so overwhelmed and paralyzed. So for instance, like with this client, I'm not going to start talking about blue light and this and that, right? But if I talk about what can you do in the morning, right? Can we light some candles to make it feel better? Without even talking about it, we're doing it. It's happening. And then she goes outside to feed the animals. We're getting sunlight, but we're not even talking about it. So with some people, we go at it that route. Because when we start talking, think about it. And you look at the health space, it's fear estrogen, fear cortisol, fear PUFAs. You can't heal if everything you're working on is filtered through fear. It's impossible, right? Neurologically and biologically. So we want to take people away from that like mechanistic, I call it helicopter healthing, like mentality, and just learning how to live again and not worrying about the information. Right? Some people I do go into it because they're a little bit more analytical and it helps kind of nudge them. But some people just need that like more application piece without talking about sunlight or mitochondria or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's a fine line to dance with people, because I feel like if people understand why they're doing certain things, they do it more often. But then there's the other type of a person who they overthink everything, and then it becomes another obsession that drives them further into dysregulation. The system just continues to be overloaded. So it's tough. And I don't know about you guys, I've been getting a ton of people that are doing a lot of kind of extreme things, extreme dieting, extreme programs with hair falling out and really low thyroid numbers. And, just in these programs where people are kind of bullying them into the weight loss. And it can be tough, because it's like, we have to take a step back from what you were doing. How do you handle those types of people? Because I'm sure you're getting them as well. And I am.
Yeah, I think in 25 years we've seen and heard it all. I always say to Jeannie, I used to do Q&As on Instagram every week, and I stopped doing them for like a year. I just started doing them again because 40% of the questions that come in are really good. The other 60%, they're so off the wall, it's hard for me
to
like respond to them, and I don't say it to be mean. It's just information for us to see how confused people are.
Very confused.
Very confused.
Very confused.
So this is why when we work with people, we go really slow and we focus on creating simplicity. And maybe they're on 20 supplements, which we see a lot, right? We don't say get off them. What we do is we say, make a list, one column, two columns. First is, I need these emotionally and physiologically. I need these right now. The other list is, I don't even know why I'm on this, or this does not work for me.
Yeah.
I don't want you to stop them, but just report back to me and tell me what you find, and let's talk about it. So we can talk about what you're comfortable with. And we do that every 3 months. So we never pull the rug out from anyone. Like, for instance, I was working with someone in our program on our morning routine. She wakes up, she goes to work at 7, but she wakes up, she works out, she doesn't eat till about 7. She's working out at, I don't even know what time, 5:30, 6 in the morning. And then going to work. She has Hashimoto's, she has gut issues, she has hormone issues. She's doing a program, counting calories, nothing's working, right? So I gave her some things to do, and she's like, well, what about my morning workout? And I said, just keep doing it right now, unless you feel like you're ready to change. And for me, when I see working out for a lot of people as it's like they're addicted to it, especially when they're doing it like 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
So we go slow. Let's just create a better morning routine. Let's create resiliency. Let's work on some other pieces, because what happens organically, as they start feeling better, they start saying, hey, Josh, I think I want to not work out in the morning and move it, or just take walks. They bring it up and we start talking about it. So they feel like it's theirs. So we don't just do everything at once, especially when it comes to working out. We have to go slow with people, because emotionally, if you do go too fast, people are going to crumble, and you got to give them these little bites that they feel empowered by they're doing, and they can start feeling, and yeah, I get it. Working out at 5 in the morning isn't good, but if we just started there, for a lot of people, it's a vice.
They would quit. Yeah.
They're going to quit. So we have to go at it just the other way. So I think, I don't know if you'd agree. We really just go slow with these people, because organically they start feeling better, and they start to want to make changes that we had on our list that we want them to do, and they just start doing it.
Well, and as I mentioned earlier, they get to see it and they start to feel again. So it's very obvious to them that, oh, this is a blocking factor for me.
Yeah.
And they'll start to, just like Josh says, start to shift in that direction. But yes, it's coming, it's a different pressure. It's a different approach for everybody with respect to coming out of these really intense programs that they're coming from, right? And we have to go slow. So if, even with their diets and whatnot, if somebody's coming in a high carb, we can't just shift them over to, high protein. We have to titrate that again, because that can be too aggressive for their systems, and they don't have the capacity.
Sometimes we just focus on one meal.
But everybody wants to do everything yesterday.
Like rip the Band-Aid off, and then, why can't I sleep? Why?
And oftentimes they have to feel that, and it's part of their journey and their process, right? And it's important for that to happen for them, right? It's just like, as we build healthy habits and behaviors, and we get pulled back into old habits and behaviors, we get to feel that difference, and it's an important part of the journey, right? So that we get to experience that contrast.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, the working out at 5 in the morning was something that I did for, I would say, most of my 30s. And then I'm in my mid-40s now. I can't even imagine it. I'm like,
right?
No way. Absolutely
no, thank
not.
you.
I'll be 46 in June. I'm like, nope.
You're like, how did I do that? I did it for like 6 months, maybe 6 years ago. And I look back and I'm like, and I only did it because I needed to do it before Harris went to school. And
right. It's because you want to have the time to do it and then go about your day. It makes
sense. And I look back, I'm like, there's no way. Like, I love my sleep. There's just, I can never.
Yeah. That's such a hard thing for people to understand. Like, well, I need to exercise, and exercise is so crucial. If I'm not gonna be able to lose weight if I don't exercise. And it's so,
such a small part of the equation,
Such a small part. And I think we have to get rid of the term exercise and use the word movement.
Yes.
It's like, if most of our clients, they have kids and they work a lot. They have very compressed days, right? And I'll tell them, I've been saying this literally for 25 years. I feel like if people would just take a walk after breakfast, lunch, and dinner, that kills so many birds with one stone. It's insane. The nervous system, the hormonal system, and leptin, and sunlight, and lymphatic. I think a lot of people would see a shift in their health by just doing that. And people think they need to, you know, work out to actually, you know, get the benefit. And I'm not saying like you shouldn't, but if you live this compressed life and you don't have the time, you're going to get more benefit. It's going to put more money in your bank account by doing something like going for walks versus working out, because it's just going to drain your bank account. You don't have the capacity for it.
Yep. Yeah, I think we're just so conditioned to believe that we have to do these certain things. We have to do the Orange Theory workout. We have to do the low carb diet, the keto diet in order to lose the weight, to feel better, to be optimized. And it's like you keep saying, less is more these days, especially when you have the kids and the job and you're spinning 100 plates. You know, I don't know about you guys. I've got the kids and an aging parent, and so many people in this age and stage of life, they're super compressed. And then as ladies, our hormones are kind of taking a moment to shift and change. And it's like, it's kind of a cruel joke, you know, that we're supposed to like do all this stuff. And then our hormones kind of start saying like, okay, we're gonna not do what we used to do.
Right.
And then you have all this dysfunction otherwise in the body because you're trying to fit into this mold of like what you're supposed to be doing, you know?
But this is the awareness and adaptability. Most people don't have that. So they would say, I need to do more. I need to push more, you know, because I have this protocol. I'm going to follow it no matter what. Right. And that creates those energy leaks. Instead of saying, oh my God, and feeling I am tired, I am compressed, I am overwhelmed, I am everything in between. I need to really nurture my body right now. Like I need to do things differently and come down a level. Maybe I need to look at what I'm eating and eat less because I'm not working out anymore. Maybe I need to take walks or just sit outside. Maybe I need to ask myself what I need and really tune into that, because you're going to get more benefit and meet your body where it's at and build resiliency to that space by doing that versus just trying to push through it, because you're going to come out on the other end in debt.
Right.
Yeah. Agree. And so you're supporting more people now, it sounds like, through these lifestyle shifts. Do you still do nutritional coaching?
Oh yeah.
That look, yeah.
It's like we have a toolbox, and depending on what comes with us, we use the right tools at the right time. But yeah, we work on lifestyle. Of course, the quantum stuff is integrated into that. We do work on nutrition. That's a piece of our work for sure, you know. And it just really depends who we're working with, what we might add in, you know, to help them work through what's going on. But a lot of the times we just try to empower people and let them know they have everything they need. They just need to do it differently to get a different response. You know, it's like Gabor says, symptoms or disease or are normal normal responses to abnormal circumstances. Right? It's just a normal response to abnormal circumstances. So we just need to change to create better response because we have more normal, you know, living in a sense. So we work on it all. It just depends on to what degree with what person who's in front of us, really.
And the goal of the nutrition piece is really, again, it's another cue of safety, right? It's another way, once we quiet the system, to replenish the body with certain types of proteins that people aren't eating, right? That are limited in their diet. So how can we optimize that and really use that food as supplementation versus loading up on all these supplements that are essentially.
Yeah, I mean, it's the end goal is that energy production. That's our end goal. So it's looking at environment, which includes that nervous system piece and lifestyle and circadian biology, because that supports energy production. We're looking at nutrition because that is a piece to supporting energy production, right? We look at movement. It's not really exercise. It's helping people like move again in a healthy way, so it works for them to support that energy production, right, through piezoelectricity, and the list goes on. So it's that's really what we're trying to do. It's just who's in front of us and how we're going to go about it. It's very personalized.
I love that. And do you utilize any sort of testing like HTMA or labs anymore at all? Or have you just moved kind of away from
We
that?
don't need to because everyone comes to us with loads of them.
Yeah, I know.
Stacks of them. We don't even have
I
to.
know. Do you
Yeah.
still read those and
Yeah. Yeah.
personal? Okay. Yeah.
We don't take it, you know, like you said, HTMA. I would say back in the day, we used to do them as a piece to see what's going on. The problem is there's two camps with HTMA. One camp is the old camp of they look at it very allopathically. You know, you're copper toxic because your copper's high, don't eat liver.
Right.
Right.
Take a zinc supplement.
The list goes on and they give you supplements. The new school, which is kind of what we do, is when you look at the HTMA, it's a report card. That's all it is. It's not telling you to do anything.
Yeah.
Right. You're looking at like calcium, potassium. That's the thyroid. Sodium, potassium. That's your stress ratio, you know, and the list goes on. So it's really just a report card of where you're at. And we stopped doing it because people thought it was like this missing link and they were going to get this protocol. But also people come to us with it already done, you know, and they think we're going to show them something that their practitioner missed.
But I think with how we use it now, it's yes, we take this information in so that we can help them understand how that information applies to what they're experiencing in their body and what are the steps we're going to take in order to meet that and bring things back to balance.
Yeah. I think a lot of the issue with HTMA is that people will get it and then they'll see someone and they get 30 supplements that they're supposed to take. I'm like, well, why is your body expressing this in the first place? What's happening in your life? Your body is always trying to protect you and doing the best that it can. And it's not that you woke up one day and needed 30 supplements. It was that your body created these imbalances to compensate for something that was happening in your life.
Exactly. That's all it is. It's a compensation, you know, and I always tell people when you look at, especially the sodium potassium ratio, which is one of the most important, it's your stress ratio. It's your cell ratio. When you start creating change in your habits, behaviors, and that begins to regulate, you'll naturally see magnesium regulate. Why? Because there's less stress in the system. You don't need to burn as much. You're going to see calcium regulate over time, right? Because you're decompensating from calcification through inflammation, oxidative stress to be able to adapt. So just by creating change, you can see a lot of those levels naturally change without supplements. They're just not needed.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and then they're expensive and they can come with other side effects as well. It's
absolutely.
Yeah. I'd love to know your thoughts on HRT, if you support people that do HRT or just kind of your viewpoints on that.
We support everyone because our goal is not to turn them into us. I have people that say, I have genetic cholesterol issues, which we know what that means, but and I feel safe taking the statin. And we just work around it. Like it's their journey. I want them to define their definition of health, you know, and we work with them. I have people on TRT, HRT, but we do look into it to help them personalize it more because a lot of people, especially HRT, in my opinion, and I think you would agree, are on maybe the wrong type or doses, and we help them kind of work with their doctor to titrate it.
Or they're 25 or 30 and on it.
And they're tons of progesterone, which they don't need, or maybe they're just on progesterone. And the way we have to look at it is even if you're in menopause, if you put these hormones into a very chaotic state, right? For instance, progesterone, you can overproduce cortisol, right?
Yes.
Because you need progesterone to produce cortisol. So you do have to create change, a little bit of change first, or if you do start it, you still have to create change. It's never just going to work. But you know, we support everyone with everything. It's just helping them kind of strategize better versus just like taking progesterone or you know,
it's helping them optimize the use of those hormones to the best of their ability, right? I think like you're saying earlier, there's a reason. It could be aging, but I think when we get to that place of that natural transition in life, people are already so depleted, right?
Mhm.
So it's going to be much more exacerbated in their experience of it. So
Yeah,
how do we bring more balance first and then support that? So that's
agreed.
really the goal.
I feel like perimenopause is kind of a report card of like your
Yeah.
metabolic health, your stress, because
Absolutely.
it just becomes more obvious at that
Yeah.
point. It's like if you're having the hot flashes, you're having a lot of these like perimenopausal symptoms that everyone's creating a lot of fear about on social media right now. It's just showing that the overall system needs support. You
Right.
need to figure out what's going on with your lifestyle and environment that's creating such a huge blood sugar dysregulation. Yes, we have less estrogen to make us insulin sensitive, but that doesn't mean the ship is lost. It can still be supported. So, yeah.
I think it's information,
Yeah.
right? It's okay. So now that the ovaries are producing less, well, who's going to pick up the slack?
Right.
Adrenals are going to do it, right?
Right.
So it is showing us the state of the system and how long it may have been there and how the level of deficiency there. So
Mhm.
it's huge information because most people are hardwired in this state and have been for decades.
We
Mhm.
don't put
And I can
anyone on
speak to it
these.
personally. It's a thing,
Mhm.
We
Yeah.
don't put people on these hormones.
Right.
But I think we
No.
have to understand, like, I would never recommend someone to do that unless they've done a lab. And
Right.
sometimes the labs are inconclusive. So I'll say, you need to go get these things tested because
Mhm.
we need to see more. And then
Mhm.
you can work with your doctor, or let's find someone. Because when you look at their labs and they're bottomed out and they're in menopause, I'm not saying there's nothing you can do, but we have to understand when someone's, let's say, just say 50,
Mhm.
you're working with them when they're 49. They have 49 years of their life that have gotten them to this point. And I know it's somewhat of a natural process, but gotten to this point of just completely being bottomed out. And some people do need that support. They just do need that support, and it really works for them. But we have to make sure that if they want to, the other principles are in place to support them.
Yeah. I think I see a lot of people deal with the cortisol issue when
Yeah,
they start HRT and they're not supported on a basic level, then they really do struggle. And it's like, well, we didn't fix the reason why
exactly.
Right.
this happened in the first place.
Exactly.
And so just adding something is not necessarily going to be supportive to that person. Yeah.
Yeah, and you see this with the younger people because a lot of women
Yes.
are pumping progesterone and they
Hmm.
don't realize,
But they're
like,
doing themselves. They're not
too
really
much
getting
too much of anything is a good thing. Too much progesterone is not a good thing. So,
No.
when they're, let's say, under perimenopause, there's no need for any of these hormones.
No,
And we
like, why is your
slowly,
body not ovulating in the first place?
right,
Why is your body
right,
suppressing that function?
right,
What's going on there?
right.
Instead of like, let's put in a hormone. Well, your body can make this, but we have to support ovulation. That starts with day
There's
one.
still
Right.
chaos,
Right.
right? There's still input influencing the HPA axis to be in that place, or the HPE axis, which is all one and the same.
Mhm.
So it's like you can take the progesterone, but you're still in the middle of a war zone with bullets flying by. It's not
Right.
going to do anything for you, you
Right.
know? So we don't shame people away from it. We just educate them and slowly help them to build resiliency. And then what I usually do is have them test because they're taking creams or sublingual, and they'll see their progesterone levels like through the roof, you know, and I'll show them like, hey, that's not healthy. So we talk about how do we titrate down. And then when they end up titrating down because they felt created such a foundation, they begin to truly feel the benefits of what they've been doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had someone this morning in a group ask me about the progesterone, and they were not in perimenopause. I think they were in their 20s, and I was like,
No.
no, no,
It's so huge because it's accessible. Like when I was young, you couldn't go into a store and buy progesterone online. You
no,
couldn't buy steroids or
no,
anything
no
online. You
peptides or
can
any
get
of the
any of
stuff.
the stuff anywhere. And it's honestly, I think this is why we're seeing so many people, even just men, on TRT besides stress, is because now you have so much accessibility to it. So
Hmm.
people are putting hormones in their body, and they don't realize that when you take hormones, there's a biological consequence, and you can actually shut down feedback loops.
Right.
So when you're that young, it can actually work against you more than it can work for you.
I had
Yep.
a 25-year-old that came to me on thyroid and HRT, and she hadn't cycled in 2 years. 2 years. She was completely shut down, and we had to slowly titrate her. And at the end, she was off of everything and is having regular cycles as of today. But it was crazy to see. And I can vividly remember the conversation with her and where I was, because she was just so upset about how she was feeling and how her life had been really negatively impacted by it. But it was crazy to me that someone had been that irresponsible.
We see this
to give that to her in the first
all
place.
the time.
That was the hardest part.
People are being overdosed on thyroid meds.
Yeah.
People just taking thyroid meds. You can buy them from Mexico online.
Yeah.
You know, and they literally create a hyperthyroid state, but they think they're going to lose weight if they take
Right. That's it, is they think they're going to lose weight, because everyone online is like, oh, the reason why you can't lose weight is your thyroid. And I'm like,
right. So we kind of have to work backwards with a lot of people, but I think it's accessibility, and I think as a culture we're being taught to completely lose trust in the capacity of what the human body can do.
Yes.
You know, because we're that disconnected.
Yes.
So it's really helping this younger generation really sink back into, like, your body is this machine. It has such, it can do such amazing things, and has such power. You know, you don't need all this stuff.
Wisdom.
You don't need all that stuff that you can buy online. I mean, I always say, when I was in college, we didn't, you know, when I was 20, I wasn't like, oh, SIBO, H. pylori. I was like,
I didn't know about any of this stuff.
Study, women, kegs. Like, that was it. You know, I was in college. I mean, that's just being transparent, right? It was study so I could drink and go out, you know?
Right.
And I'm not saying that's fun, but when I was 20, that was fun, right? That was life. But now it's like SIBO and programs and this and that and histamine and what's wrong with me and supplements and HRT.
SIRS and all these.
I mean, it's just, this web is just, we're just losing that trust in what our body can do. And I think we have to help people get back there. And that's really what we want to do, is help people have fun again and live again and smile again, and realize, like, that stuff is great, but it's there for people that need it.
Yeah. And if you're in your 20s, you probably don't need that.
No, definitely not.
Not the solution. I think the weight loss thing is just still such a huge pressure for people. And it's, you know, your body, I always tell people, I'm like, your body doesn't want to let go of this weight. There's a reason why it's there. There's something that your body feels that it needs to protect you from. I don't know from a 5-minute conversation what that is, but there is something that your body says that you're in danger and you need to be protected. And so thyroid medication is likely not going to be the magic pill. Taking estrogens is likely not going to be the magic pill. Not to say there's no place for those ever. I don't want to say that, but it's not where I would look first at all for anyone.
Never.
Yeah. There's a hierarchy when it comes to energy in the body. And again, weight loss is not at the top of it at all. Like you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, when you can't lose weight, it's inflammation. It's actually an inflammatory response, right? It's inflammation, and again, it's a report card. You know, you can lose weight to try to get healthy at the expense of damaging your metabolism more.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, anyone can lose weight. All you got to do is over exercise and under eat, right? You will lose weight at the expense of creating so much damage that when you try to live normally again, it's going to come back. Or you can work on getting healthy to lose weight, right? And that takes time, and that takes working on new healthy habits and behaviors, and regulating your hormones, and balancing that cortisol leptin relationship, and really reconnecting with yourself to get your body to feel safe. So it says, you know what, I can let go of this, because, you know, I know what's coming in, you know, I know what's coming, and I can handle that. You know, because you have the money in the bank account. We always say it's like you're in debt right now. And because you've lived in a way to create debt, and that's okay. What we're working on is we're stopping the debt, and we're going to help you start to pay off that debt. You in 3 months might go, I'm still in debt. I'm $500,000 in debt versus $1 million. Or you can say, oh my God, I just paid off $500,000. It's amazing. And you keep going, and you learn how to live in a way where you can make money, save money, spend money, and have fun, and not even have debt anymore. And this is really what people need to get to.
I agree. Yeah. There's, you know, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Oh yeah. Weight loss is like the filter for everything, I think. Anytime I talk about leptin or weight loss, I mean, post through the roof. It's insane but if you filter it, that's like everyone's goal. It doesn't matter if the arm is hanging off.
Right.
Or they are like,
so true.
Have incontinence. It doesn't matter. They need to lose weight.
Right.
So it's like, that's why we come at it from the standpoint, because a lot of the times we don't even talk about it. We don't even focus on it. But as they start to feel healthy again and feel more balanced and just resilient, they start to notice, I'm feeling different in my body. And I think it just comes down to everything we've talked about, that safety, that security, and really regulating the state of the system back towards that adaptability state.
I love it. I love it. Well, this has been really, really fun. And I'd love to know, if anyone's listening, what sort of offers that you have, and what, it sounds like you have some group programs, some things that might be more evergreen, just in case anyone who's listening, they may say, all right, that's it, I'm ready to to get started and learn more. How can people find you, and what kind of things do you offer?
We have our website, which is eastwesthealing.com. You can find everything there. We have a few guides. We have a lot of things in the pipeline for 2025, but right now, the other place you could find us mainly is, we're on Twitter and YouTube, all that, but is Instagram. That's where we are mostly. And our Instagram is Real Food Gangstas. It's a funny story. I created that a long time ago because when we first came on the platform, what year was it? It was a long time ago. I was like trying to grow our
before Instagram was what it is today.
Yeah, it was it wasn't what it is today, a long time ago. But I was seeing people like growing their account. I'm like, oh, they have cool names.
Yes.
So maybe if I come up with a cool name, it'll grow our account. And it didn't in the beginning, but of course, over time, the more we fine-tuned our message, it did. But then we just don't want to change it because.
Yeah, I know. I dealt with that for a while.
But mainly we do one-on-one coaching. We have a 4-month package. Our main program, which is evergreen, but we do lives twice a month. We do some like in this next
starting January 8th, we'll
enrollment.
Be launching and doing bi-weekly live calls. So that's our Nourish Nervous System program.
It's a 90-day program. And what I was saying is we get this I don't know to say this start enrollment, whatever. We're doing 2 live bonuses with the gut reset and the histamine fix within the program itself. So it's a 90-day program to help people really do everything we talked about and help them personalize it through the process. So yeah, those are the 2 things that we kind of offer.
Great. Well, I'll make sure those are all linked in the show notes. And yeah, it's been fun. I have a lot of respect for the work that you put out there and how mindful and respectful that you are of people, because there's a lot of that's lost online now. And, when you meet somebody who you see that they really do have a lot of care and compassion for the people they work with, it's a really, really lovely thing. So yeah, anyone who's watching, I think they are the real deal. And definitely check them out. So yeah, thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Thank you so much for listening to the Evolving Wellness Podcast. Just a quick little reminder, this is not medical advice nor meant to be taken as a substitute for working one-on-one with a healthcare practitioner. And if you enjoy the show, please head on over to Apple or Spotify to leave the show up to a 5-star review. If you're over on YouTube, please leave us a like, leave us a comment. I really appreciate you for being here, for listening to the show, and your support means the world to me as I continue to try to pull guests from around the world to bring you informative content to empower you to make decisions about your own health. Thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.